Hey everyone, I meant to actually create this video right away after my child's birth, but time got away from me and I just kind of got into the moment of taking time with my child and taking care of him and all that that entails. But my nieces were over today meeting their new cousin for the first time, and one of them asked me how my home birth went and how it was. And it reminded me that I had wanted to create a video sharing my story with people, for anyone that is interested in home birth or people that are just curious by it. I know while it is gaining a resurgence in popularity, it does seem like a lot of people are still kind of, I don't know, a little weirded out by home birth. And our culture, especially in the US, we tend to pathologize birth. And so, I don't know, I just feel like it's important to have as many positive home birth stories out in the world as possible. And luckily, with the internet and YouTube and other video platforms, we have the ability to see and experience and hear other people's experiences with home birth. So, just a little backstory on me. I'm 38 years old. This is my second pregnancy. My first one in 2021 unfortunately ended in miscarriage at 10 weeks. But I was able to get pregnant again this last summer in 2022. And pretty good pregnancy, not a lot of nausea, a few food aversions, but nothing crazy. Maybe I can create another video at some point talking about the pregnancy, but for now, I'll just go into the home birth story. So at 40 weeks plus 5, the middle of the night, around 3, 4 in the morning, I started having contractions. And they weren't really strong, but I could tell that they weren't Braxton Hicks. Woke Mike up at some point, and then we kind of went back to sleep just to try to get some rest because that's what the midwives had told us to do. And in the morning, I continued to kind of have some mild contractions here and there, had breakfast, took a shower at some point. It was a really nice day in April, even though we'd actually had quite a cold, wet spring, and we continued to after the birth, actually. But the day of my birth, it was a beautiful, sunny, warm day, so we went out and took the dog for a walk, and I continued to have contractions, once in a while stopping to kind of just hold on to Mike and just kind of, feel through it. They weren't too intense just yet. We went and sat by the river, which is right by our house, and I put my feet in the icy, frigid ice melt from the mountains, and it was actually intense. But it felt good to get grounded and just be sitting on the rocks by the river. And eventually we went inside, and basically as the day progressed, kind of just went about our day for a while, but after some time the contractions were kind of intense, and so I kind of just had to go with it. I did eat some food at some point, which I later threw up. And then as the contractions got more and more intense, I took a shower again, just to kind of try to relax the body. And at some point, Mike was feeding me coconut water and yogurt because the midwives really wanted me to kind of regain my strength and make sure I had enough calories, especially having thrown up. And I think I threw up a couple times as the contractions got more intense. So that wasn't the most pleasant part. Mike actually set up a rope to hang from his workout machine, and I was able to kind of bear down against that as the contractions got more and more intense. And it really was just kind of a ride. I felt like it was just kind of this intense ride that I had to go through and just kind of like surrender myself to. It was not comfortable, I will say. It was intense, but I just kind of was present with it. And it was so helpful that Mike just kept bringing me coconut water and little bites of yogurt in between contractions because I almost passed out at one point. And, I know in the mainstream, a lot of people tell you you shouldn't eat during labor, but that's mostly if you ever think that you're going to have to get anesthesia to get a C-section. And in my mind, that just wasn't a possibility. We're 35 minutes from the hospital, and I just knew with all my being that we were going to have this home birth no matter what. And so the midwives are very encouraging to eat and drink water with electrolytes or coconut water just to keep up your strength. And so Mike just kept, having me have little sips here and there between contractions. And, as the night progressed, the contractions were really close, really one on top of each other and quite intense. And he was kind of trying to help me, trying to kind of be there for me, but he kept having to go into the bedroom to set up the birth tub and trying to get the water going at some point when it got close enough. And the whole time being kind of in contact with the midwives every once in a while, talking with them on the phone, letting them know how far apart the contractions were and how the intensity of the pain was. And then eventually, when they got close enough, the midwives made their trek here. And by this point, it was maybe 10:30 at night. And they continued to fill up the birth pool and get, hot water in there and trying to make sure it was warm enough, because this thing is a huge birth tub, a lot of water holds. And at some point, I remember just kind of being like, when is that tub going to be ready? I just want to get in and because I know how calming and relaxing baths have always been for me if I'm ever in pain. And so I figured it would at least soothe, the pain a little bit, the discomfort a little bit. And eventually they had me come in the bedroom and lie on the bed sideways to try to, I guess just get me in a different position to see if, I could get more comfortable while they were continuing to get everything ready. But my body just started pushing. I just really had no say in the matter. It was just wanting to push. And so eventually they got me in the pool, and basically the midwife was checking the baby's heart rate on my stomach with the Doppler. And every time she checked, the baby's heart rate would be going a little bit lower. So they weren't, super thrilled about that. So they got me in a couple different positions in the tub. I went through a few different really strong contractions, right one on top of another in the birth pool. And at some point they were like, this isn't working. So they got me out, put me on the bed, and had me, I guess, push there. And again, they were checking the baby's heart rate, and it was just kind of getting low. And so they were a little nervous about that. They felt like, something might not be right. And so they actually put me on the birth stool. And I just remember one of the midwives just kind of being like, all right, mama, this baby's got to get born. And so I just called out to God and I said, God, please help me birth this baby. And I just gave it all my might, and I just gathered all my strength as a woman and all the strength from God, and I just pushed so strongly and just, let out this mother roar. And it took 3 pushes, and his head was out, so I didn't really have time to kind of let it stretch, let the tissue stretch. But his head was out in 3 pushes, and then 1 quick push, and the rest of him came out. And, the reason that his heart rate had been kind of lowering was because his cord was kind of draped across his shoulders. And every time I was pushing, it was kind of, I guess, going against him, and it was, blocking blood flow. And so when he first came out, he wasn't crying, and I guess, that's fairly common. So they did have to kind of do a few things to help him cry and kind of get with it. But I was just so out of it at that point, and just so happy to have brought him into this world, and, that I was able to do it, and, unmedicated and no help, I guess, other than the help of the midwives kind of cheering me on, and God's help, of course. So they got him revived and crying, and a good strong cry, and just checked the baby out, checked me out. And, I did tear a little bit because we didn't have time to kind of let the tissue stretch, but it's pretty common for first-time moms. So it's okay. There's a healing process after birth. But ultimately, I'm so happy that I did this at home. I would do it again. Yes, it was intense. Yes, there were times throughout that it was like otherworldly. It was just like so psychedelic. And I know I would do it again. If I would do a home birth again if I decide to get pregnant again and have another child. But ultimately, it was positive. Yes, was it perfect? No, I don't think any birth is absolutely perfect. I'm happy with it. My baby is strong and healthy and so sweet and inquisitive. He's actually 3 months old today, so this is a little belated. I really wanted to do this story early on, but you know, it just gets busy when you've got a newborn and you're trying to heal and you're trying to, take care of him. And um, but anyways, that's my story, and I hope you find some benefit in it if that's what you're looking for. Anyways, thanks for listening. Take care.